My name is Dan Conlan, a West Side resident for approximately 55 years. And my address is a dead-end street, which my only egress is to Robert Street. So every day, whenever I want to leave my house, Robert Street is my only way out. So the MNDoT project for Robert Street is of utmost importance to me, and that's why I've been doing a lot of research on it. So today's presentation is we must do better. Making a safer, saner, slower Robert Street. I emphasize the slower. So I've critiqued the problem, and hopefully I can present you some other viewpoints and some other facts to give you a better idea of what's going to be going on with Robert Street. Right now, from Kellogg to Fillmore, as it is, we have 4 lanes right now, 2 north and 2 south. The proposal is for 1 lane on the west side there to go south, and the 1 lane next to it to go north. The remaining 2 lanes will be bike lanes, and they will be separated from the traffic by plastic posts and paint. Well, a common sense approach to bike lanes, as far as continuing up the very busy Robert Street, why not take them on the west side of Robert Bridge on that very wide sidewalk, and designating the west side of Robert all the way to Colorado Street means the bikes are off the roadway and on the less traveled portion of the street. Example here, if you look, Plato here, the bridge would be up here. If you stayed on the west side of Robert all the way down here to just by the detail place across from Captain Ken's, then you could transfer the traffic over on Colorado here to get away from the busy Robert Street, and you can follow Clinton Street. So Clinton Street, at Colorado, when you travel and route east across Robert, 1 block east of Clinton, and then to State over by Mercado. State takes you up to Oakdale. And that's where they connect to the bike lane on Oakdale. And they won't interfere with the businesses on Cesar Chavez. I don't know if these businesses really want bike lanes right in front of their shop. The updated citywide bike plan favors protected infrastructure such as off-street bike lanes. So getting them off of Robert Street, putting them on the bridge, keeping them on the west side of Robert all the way up to Colorado, and then take the back way to State, go by Rio Playground and Wellstone Center, is a better alternative. Again, we have that starting up here by Captain Ken's and the Girl Scouts, following Clinton, going by the fields here, coming back behind on State, and they have a controlled intersection here. Take State to Oakdale, and Oakdale has already got a bike lane on it, which will connect up with Belvedere, which is the intended crossing for Robert Street. From Fillmore to Union Pacific Railroad Bridge, we'll go from 1 lane on the southbound to 3 lanes, a right turn lane, a center lane, and then the left turn lane. The northbound traffic will have just a straight through lane and a left turn lane. And there will be a Metro Transit G-Line station on the opposite sides of the street, just south of the intersection. Now, if you haven't heard about the Metro G-Line, it's running from Rice Street to the Dakota County Government Center on Robert. Metro G-Line, the Metro Council and the Metropolitan Transit have come up with this project. And these transit stations are approximately 60 feet long and 11.5 feet wide. They're very large structures. And as it's laid out right now, when they stop, all traffic stops. There's no getting around those buses because there's only 1 lane in each direction, and that's where they pick up their passengers. Union Pacific Railroad to Cesar Chavez, again, they have the bicycles on the street here, but they propose a concrete barrier to protect them from traffic as they go over the bridge. One lane in each direction, and a left turn, right turn, center section here. The Union Pacific to the Railroad Bridge to Cesar Chavez. We have a transit station on opposing streets here. Very wide boulevard here by Jerry's service station, and we have a driveway for the abandoned Burger King. And of course, you have your bike lane going all the way through here now in front of all these shops. There's a little bit of parking here, no parking along here. Tom's Barber Shop still has its access. But what it means is future development. We don't know if they want that driveway there for whoever develops the Burger King. Any development of this lot means you have an extra wide boulevard and transit station there. And these bike lanes are coming through, so if they decide to route them over at Colorado, it avoids some of that congestion. Cesar Chavez Street to State Street, what they're going to do is close off this service road. It's been a problem where it meets down here at Robert Street. The houses that live here have an alley behind, so the service road will go that far. And on Robert Street, there'll be a median, so there is just a right turn only, and then the straight through. What it means is any traffic on George Street wanting to go on Robert Street North will not access via the service road anymore. You'll go back to Humboldt, or you'll go down to State and meet up with Cesar Chavez to come back. Now, the proposed viaduct changes. King Street on the west side of Robert will be a dead end, no longer have access to the service road. There will be no on-street parking from the viaduct to just south of Curtis. And since King Street on the east side is also blocked from Robert Street access, people living between King and Stevens on that side will only reach their homes by going back and around to Robert Street. And it seems like many of these multi-generational homes on Robert do need parking on Robert Street. They have more than two people with cars. So if we go back to this diagram, right here, these people have access. Let's go forward a few more diagrams. Going the wrong way. There we go. Where we used to get on the service road to get on Robert Street going south, that will be a dead end. So all these people will have to go back to Livingston and over to get on Robert Street. The people that live on this side, the service road, can access it from Robert Street. But the people here that used to be able to come up King Street, that now is apparently blocked off. MNDoT doesn't feel that they need that access. We have a divider median here to funnel people into the one lane going through the viaduct. We have a center median here for Baker, which is an attempt to make it safer for the high school students because Humboldt is just up the street a little bit. We also have another center median here at Morton for the same theory that since traffic will not be stopping, pedestrians will have to gauge the gap in the traffic, and the median gives them a safe place to run through and stop, and then gauge the traffic from the other side. Again, there's no parking. MNDoT has conducted pedestrian counts along the street. We get to the intersection of Sydney, and they propose a roundabout. They will have a center median on the north and south end of it to show people which way to go. It gets confusing for people in roundabouts. Sydney Street will be only westbound traffic, a one-way to enter this roundabout, and they will have transit stations just south of the roundabout. The biggest safety problem at this intersection at Sydney Street and Robert is the blind spot for northbound traffic created by that building on the corner, which is formerly in Morgan's Delicatessen. The roundabout still allows traffic from Sydney in that blind intersection, that blind corner, and the safety problem still persists. The splitter medians at the south end of the intersection means the buses will effectively block all traffic in whichever direction they're on when they stop. Emergency vehicles apparently will drive over the medians and the roundabout to bypass. And to kind of tell you a little more detail here, a lot of the fire calls, the EMS come from Cesar Chavez. So if there's traffic here, obviously the traffic can't pull over to the right anymore like we do now because we have those lanes for parking. So if there's traffic there, apparently they will have to drive over this median and drive over the roundabout. And if there's no traffic for the buses, then they can go over. Or if there's traffic there, the buses stop, they drive over a center median. It's a little confusing, and I don't know how that's going to work. They didn't remove the safety problem here. That's the thing that made that intersection really dangerous. I would propose making it a dead end. I live on a dead end. I wish I would be like this and exit on to Oakdale, which is what these people would do. I don't think it's a hardship to make that a dead end, and it solves a big part of the safety problem. A compact roundabout with a blind approach on Sydney and bus station usage blocking traffic completely is a very bad idea. Roundabouts are not a one-size-fits-all solution. What I did was I looked at data that I could find about roundabouts to see if there was some drawbacks to roundabouts. And this is from the Wisconsin Department of Transportation Facilities Development Manual. And what they say in the beginning of this is it's critical to the acceptance of roundabout intersections is overcoming the internal and external skepticism of its advantages and the value compared to controlled or signalized intersections. And most important here is to meet with local officials and adjoining property owners early in the process. This is one of the drawbacks that we have in MNDoT process. They did not meet early in the process. Roundabouts are their plan going forward. So Wisconsin realizes Wisconsin has more roundabouts than Minnesota. They seem to have done a better job of laying out the groundwork for when they're appropriate and how to do it. They say designers and traffic engineers should coordinate the presentation materials with the region staff as well as the Bureau of Project Development to present a consistent, unified approach for roundabout implementation. So they all work together to present this to the public and try to gain their acceptance. The disadvantages of roundabout, especially the single lane type like we are having, they list may reduce the number of available gaps for mid-block, unsignalized intersections and driveways. That's a little confusing, but what it means is as the traffic is entering the roundabout, traffic behind it starts to back up a little bit. So that gap that was in between them before they got to the roundabout gets narrower and narrower. It's harder for pedestrians to get across or for people to pull out the traffic. As the queues develop, drivers accept smaller gaps, which may increase crashes. When I say that the distance in between gets less as they back up going into the roundabout, that's when roundabout accidents occur because people are not paying attention, rear-end collisions. This is a telling portion here. Pedestrians, especially children, elderly, and handicapped, may experience increased delay and reduced safety in securing acceptable gaps to cross. Now you realize this is next to Humboldt High School. A big portion of the safety on Robert Street concerns students crossing. So we're putting in a roundabout which, according to Wisconsin DOTs, will exacerbate the problem of safety for pedestrians. Pedestrians with vision impairment may have the most trouble establishing safe opportunities to cross due to the challenges in determining that vehicles have yielded, due to challenges in detecting gaps and determining the vehicles have yielded at crosswalks. Now you got to remember that we have 2 Metro Transit G-Line stations there. They prefer their stations to be at controlled intersections. They originally planned for their stations to be at Curtis, where we have a traffic light now. But MNDOT determined that we do not deserve a traffic light at Curtis. We do not have the required cross traffic to warrant a traffic light. And as far as pedestrians, the explanation was given that they've noticed that when people push the button, they get impatient and they cross before the do not cross or the light comes on for them. So there's no need for a traffic light, I guess. Safety is not the concern, it's the amount of traffic, and pedestrians don't use the light, the button. There's no current available research on the safety of compact or mini roundabouts in the US, but trends show that fatal and severe injury crashes are similar to larger roundabouts. While the minor crash may be 30 to 50% higher than at a traditional roundabout. So while they can stress the safety of roundabouts, this particular compact roundabout could have 30 to 50% higher crash rate. All data is taken from the Wisconsin DOT Facilities Development Manual, Chapter 11, Section 26, November 15th, 2022, which means it's only 2 years old. Here we have the picture the MNDOT shows to show what the compact roundabout might be like with a reduced median, allowing them to drive over the middle part of the roundabout. It's a nice picture, but this is nowhere near Robert Street. You have no houses on the right, large houses with big driveways on the left. Not a very good comparison. From State Street to Annapolis, we have a large center median here at Belvedere. Belvedere is designated as a bike throughway there. So this is to allow the bikes to gauge the traffic, find a gap, get across to that median, wait for another gap to get across to the other side at Belvedere. We have some parking over here where we have apartment buildings. And they've determined that there's going to be parking over here in front of MFK Enterprises. And they did a parking survey and determined that those people needed more parking. But as any residents of the area will point out, that's where the used car lot parks all their excess inventory, somewhat illegally on the street. So for roundabout crash analysis, MNDOT is treating Robert Street as a highway and applying that logic to this plan. The current movement seems to favor roundabouts over traffic lights without regard to location or feedback. MNDOT's 2017 study of the traffic safety at roundabouts in Minnesota uses crash analysis of 144 roundabouts out of the 500, none of them in St. Paul, to champion the safety factors of roundabouts. Now, 2 of these roundabouts have been modified since the construction, and the data was not used. Due to the high number of crashes and complaints, the roundabouts were restriped. Further on in that study, they state 100% reduction in serious injury crashes. While this is true if you cherry pick the roundabouts first, and then you disregard those you had to restripe because of a higher number of crashes. To have a better understanding of the impacts of roundabouts, the following crash types were removed before the start of the analysis. Crashes that occurred during the construction years were removed, which is understandable. Crashes within interchanges were only included if the crash was coded to the roundabout intersections. Crashes on the main line, the ramps, and outside the interchange terminals were not included. So the crash data only counted incidents which occurred in the roundabouts itself, in that area where they're circling around that center median. No information on the accordion effect when traffic bottlenecks coming into the roundabout where rear-end collisions are more likely. So if it happens on the way into the roundabout, they didn't count it. If it happens, collisions resulting in the roundabout, if it didn't occur in that roundabout, they didn't count it. MNDOT's approach to roundabouts is 100% positive, and they advocate putting them everywhere. The Wisconsin DOT plan lists the pros and cons when detailing when roundabouts are applicable and what version is deciding our fate. Conclusion being, what is being thrust upon us is a flawed community input before picking a plan. We have no numerical evidence defining the number or location of survey respondents. If you look at pages 41 through 53 of the Metro Transit survey for the G-line plan for Robert, that's that line will run from Rice Street to the Dakota County Government Center, you'll see a complete breakdown of the respondents. And I'll give you the website here where you can find that information. To date, we don't have that same verifiable results from the MNDOT surveys. These are the surveys that determine the plan that we have now. We can look at the survey results from the Metro Transit G-line for Robert Street and see detailed breakdowns on respondents. Perhaps MNDOT doesn't have that technical expertise, or perhaps they didn't bother. What we have here is a screenshot. This was what they asked about the platform locations. Now, what's telling about the difference here, they color-coded it. Dark blue was strongly agree, lighter blue was agree, the gray was neither agree nor disagree, the orange was disagree, and the yellow was strongly disagree. But what's more telling, they put the numbers of the survey respondents that filled that category. On here we have open-ended questions. So if your concerns didn't fall in that line of prepackaged menu of questions, you had an opportunity here to voice your concerns. And they took the top themes from these written responses by concern, whether it was local service, station or platform location. And again, we have the numbers that did that. More importantly, for what we originally asked about, we have the zip codes. All along this proposed G-line, they color-coded the zip code of the respondents, and they included how many people in that zip code responded to the survey. So we have a good idea of how effective it was and what the local participation was. MNDOT devised their plan on flawed data and only pursued community engagement after WSCO members started questioning the plan. The response has been not to listen to concerns at community meetings, rather it has been to defend their plan. They've been doing good at attending a lot of meetings, but if you attend those meetings, they'll listen to you and then they'll tell you why their plan is going to work. The plan needs to step back and examine every section with regard to community input and, more important, safety. That's the whole idea of changing Robert Street is for safety. We have not heard any input from the City of St. Paul or Public Works at these community meetings. They've been remarkably silent. We don't know if they agree with it entirely or not. We have the necessary reconstruction of the viaduct upcoming, which should be in concert with the Robert Street reconstruction. You really can't rebuild one and not have to touch the other one, so we should have a comprehensive plan for both. The major changes being proposed for Robert Street will not be easily undone if they prove as problematic as envisioned. A reason for let's get it right. If the reconstruction isn't as good as what we have now, why even consider it? So I hope this presentation gives you a few more facts to consider. And again, compare it with what we've got now. If we can make it better, we should. But there's several drawbacks to this plan. And I think we need to to step back and give it a good thorough going over with community input. And that's where we need your help. So thank you very much.